If you're wondering how to better deal with a client that leaves or that wants to change something, then this video is for you. By the way, consider subscribing and activating notifications, because that way you're going to know immediately as soon as I release a new video on sales, communication, negotiation, or anything persuasion overall. Anyway, on to the main topic. So the key idea that I want to discuss in this video is that after a program or a specific service is finished and you continue with that same client, it's going to be a new season, if you will. Almost like a new season of a TV show where the characters are different and the overarching plot is the same, but there are new twists. And what you need to do is you need to make this change consciously, or you need to let them go. But what you cannot do is continue in the same way as you were in the previous program or service. So the first thing that is important to cover is that in many cases, it's all or nothing. What I mean by this is the following. When a person is asking for a new service or a new program, in many cases, they are literally a new person. That is, they are not the same person that came to you to obtain the first results. They want something new, their mindset is in a different place, and what they want from you is entirely different. I've had many clients that transition from one program to the other, such as a public speaking program to a negotiation program to a sales program and so on, but I've had other clients that cannot make the transition at all. Why? Because they're a different headspace, they're literally a different person, they have different goals. And what happens is that in some cases, it's easy to make that transition, but in other cases, not at all. And this is usually for one of two reasons. One, it's the services themselves. That is, the person may come from a service or coaching program from something that you really know and where you obtain a lot of results, and they may want to head into a new program where you cannot obtain that many results for them. So what happens is it's not your specialization anymore. And because of that, the results that you are able to get them are not as high. Another possibility is that literally the relationship has eroded or has changed in some way. For example, if you have a client that pays a lot and you can get them a lot of results, but it's always the same routine every single week and you can't take it anymore, either because they complain a lot or they don't do the executive homework if you do something like that, or for some reason, if you think that that routine is not for you anymore, if they want to renew with a new program, you may be the one who is not in that headspace anymore. And you may say, hey, there's some things that we need to change because otherwise this is not going to work. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to realize that this is a new season. It's almost like you're dealing with a new person and you cannot continue with the same program under the same mold for a new season. It's very rare to have a client that wants the exact same thing month after month after month in the exact same format to get the exact same results. And to be honest, even if they want that, they're probably not that very good of a client because they've stagnated in some way, okay? So what you need to realize is that there's going to be a new season, it's going to be a new program, and either you are completely in or you are completely out. But don't kind of be 1 foot in, 1 foot outside, because that way you're not going to like the new program, nor is the client, or you're not going to like the new service in case it's a service. And then it's pain for everybody involved. Then the second thing that you need to do, which may actually be basic, but that is still necessary, is for you to pick the appropriate metrics and results for the new program. What happens is, I've spoken with a lot of other coaches that in some cases, unfortunately, don't even change the metrics. They do, for example, a public speaking coaching program and then a sales coaching program and ask them, okay, what are the KPIs and what are the metrics for success for the client? And they say, well, they're the exact same thing for both programs. It's just how good the client thinks that they are in terms of the skills. And I'm a little bit shocked by this, right? Because for every single program or every single service, you have a set of metrics and results. And what may happen is that you may fall into the trap that these people fell into, which is you think, hey, I have one specific program with metrics or results, and it's a new client, so I'm going to put in a lot of effort. But then you have a second program, so you think, I'll just continue as is. No. If a program is completely different, as we saw in the previous insight, then the results and the metrics have to be completely different as well. If you're talking about coaching somebody or doing a service in terms of sales, in terms of presentations, in terms of negotiation, or whatever your specific area is, then chances are every single specific service or coaching program is going to have a very unique set of metrics. And you cannot just continue with the previous ones because you think, oh, it's the same clients, it's a renewal, so we'll just keep doing the same thing. Not at all. If you don't put in the effort and if you don't help them measure the metrics for the new thing that they want to learn or that they want to do, they are going to quit sooner or later because they don't see those results, right? As Peter Drucker would say, what gets measured gets managed. So if you don't even know what you're measuring, there's no way that you can actually show results to a client. The third insight here is that the client is going to tell you what they want if you just ask or if you just broach the topic. What I mean by this is the following. I've had a client, for example, that was in strategy consulting and he wanted to do a communication coaching program, but then he changed and he wanted to do a career coaching program because he did not want to continue in his current company and he wanted to become a consultant full-time and so on. So the first thing that I asked was, do you want to jump into just a career coaching program and leave communication behind? And he told me, no, it's very important that we keep doing the communication stuff, but maybe we tone it down a little bit and maybe the career coaching is 50% of it. And that's the best type of answer that you can hope for because they're going to tell you exactly what they want to do and what results they want to obtain. And even if it's kind of a hybrid program where you have this type of service and this type of service and it's 20% this and 50% that, they are just going to tell you if you have that conversation with them. But what you cannot do is just not broach the topic, because you're going to be in this weird limbo, right? You have a service that's going on and you think maybe there's a renewal in 2 or 3 months, and are they going to renew? Is it going to be in the same format or not? So what do most people do? Most consultants and coaches, you probably guessed it, they do nothing, and then when it's time for renewal, they think, well, is it the same? It's probably kind of the same. No, what you have to do is you have to think, hey, if a change is coming, we're going to be very active about this, very proactive. I'm going to ask the client what they want. We're going to calculate exactly what are the changes. Is there still a part of the previous service or coaching program that remains here? And if not, we're going to go with a new program. But if so, then we're going to mix the two, and we're going to have the specific results and metrics for each of them. But again, if you just talk to them about this, they are going to tell you. What you cannot do is not talk about it and then just expect it to occur and to be a good program, right? Another interesting insight here is that they may need a Coda, an Epilogue. There are many cases where you have a coaching program that is going very well, and you know that the client may be about to leave because they're independent, they don't need you anymore, and they don't want results in another area. But what may happen is they still haven't had enough of that program, so they may need 2 or 3 months. So what may happen is, especially if you deal with long-term contracts like I do of 6 months or 1 year, you may be tempted to renew the person for another 6 months or 1 year. But in this case, they may not need it. There are certain clients that just need 1 or 2 more months just to cap off the experience and make sure that they end on a high note, and then have extracted as much value as they can from that service or coaching program, and then it's time to move on. And it doesn't make any sense to position a new program for those people because they don't need it, they don't want any changes, they just want to keep doing what they're doing for a little bit more. So you also want to ask yourself, if there is a client that is about to leave, whether they just need a small epilogue to tack on to the end of their experience to end on a high note, because it may be that case as well. Then another interesting insight is that, at least for my case, and I recommend this as well, is to assume that the person is done unless they state it otherwise. Again, if you are near the end of a program and you're in this kind of limbo where you don't know if the person wants to renew, or you want to renew, or if they want something different, you need to talk with the person. And unless they give you a very good reason to continue, they probably shouldn't continue. There are a lot of people who are very naive or very kind, and they will continue and buy a new program for you even if they don't need it. But that is a terrible idea, because what's going to happen is they're going to get buyer's remorse after a couple of months, and it's not going to be good for everybody, right? So what happens is you're stuck in this limbo and you're thinking, should they continue? Well, they haven't said no, so let's just renew them once more. And they say, you know what, it's fine, let's renew. And then after 2 or 3 months in the new program, they realize that they did not want this at all, and they just renewed because they wanted to be kind. So again, what you want to do is you want to be very proactive about this. You want to speak with the person and you want to ask whether there is enough content to fill a new service or new program. Whether it's the same thing or a new thing, there has to be an active justification, right? With a new client, there has to be a big enough justification for them to make the initial purchase. And it's no different with a repeat customer. Just because you are under the illusion that they can renew by default, and they may be under that illusion as well, it doesn't mean that it's going to work out. So they must have a full package of value, something that they want to achieve in order to justify the purchase, even if they are a repeat purchase. That's why they say, unless they specifically say that they want to renew and they have a good reason for it, I assume that they're not going to renew. And even if they wanted to renew without a good reason, it would not be good either for me or for them. And another point is to stay connected with them in a proactive manner. As you may know, this may sound a little bit obvious. There's a lot of clients that you speak to after a couple of years and they come back to you. But what may happen is that in a lot of cases, they want to come back, but they just cannot find an excuse to strike up the conversation. There's a lot of alumni and ex-clients that I reach out to just to say, hey, how are you? Happy birthday, or whatever it is. And suddenly they say, oh, I was thinking of coming back, but I did not find a reason to message you, or I never got around to doing it. But now that you messaged me, I would like to have a meeting and come back. And boom, it's done. So it's not just about staying in touch in an automatic and robotic manner. You got to put in the effort, and it's got to be conscious, right? Either you're offering them a session just to see where they're at, or you're wishing happy birthday, or you remember something that is important to them, or you're sharing an article that you think that you're going to love. But it has to be a good reason to communicate with them and just to check in with them, right? Don't just do it automatically and send a passive message and think that you're going to come back because of it. No, you want to really help them and add value, even if they are not currently within a service or a coaching package. And when you add value with that communication, you may have the case where they say, hey, I want to come back to you. But they would never come back to you if you have not sent the message, because the initiative has to come from you. Sometimes it is weird, but it works like that. If you're enjoying these techniques, make sure to check out the Everyday Negotiations playlist, where I tell you how to negotiate, sell, and communicate in everyday situations.